Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, today the nisayon, or the test of the generation, is different than other generations. Actually, if you want to pinpoint one point of reflection, is that the previous generations actually had a lot of poverty, difficulty, suffering. These days, the Jewish people are going through a totally different kind of test. It's actually the opposite: comfort, luxury, and affluence. And it's really worrisome because we don't really know how to deal with this, since we don't have many stories, many gedolim or previous, rabbis to teach us how to deal with this, since it was never the big forte of the Jewish people. I believe in this week's parasha, there's an extraordinary point of reflection for us, but especially for our children, when it comes to this situation we are in. So we all know the story of Yosef reuniting with his brothers. Now in Parashat Vayechi, the brothers live already in Egypt. They already made themselves comfortable, and it's Yaakov's turn to pass. He's niftar. We know that he made Joseph swear that he will bury him in Ma'arat HaMachpelah in Hebron, next to his father and his grandfather, Yitzchak and Abraham. And Yosef does that. When they come back from the burial into the land of Egypt, we see that the brothers are saying something that is very hurtful. And they say famously, who knows now our brother Yosef is going to take revenge on us. I'm going to read the Pesukim. Yosef's brothers saw that their father had died. And they said, who knows, but that now Yosef will hate us and avenge himself upon us for all the evil that we have caused him. This is incredible. All these years, Yosef was very helpful. He helped them settle in Egypt. They saw that he was close to the family, etc. And now that Yaakov passed, the brothers are suspicious that perhaps now Yosef is going to take revenge because the father passed away. It's very similar to Yaakov and Esav. When Yaakov sees that Yitzchak is passing, he thinks that Esav is going to kill him. Similar situation, but this is very surprising. Here we're talking about the brothers of Yosef. They saw Yosef was a good guy. Why would they think that Yosef is not going to take revenge on them? The truth of the matter is that there's a midrash that is very interesting, that perhaps is helping us understand why the brothers were suspicious. The midrash tells us the following, I quote, on the way back from the burial of Jacob, on the way back to Egypt, on the way back from the burial of Yaakov in Israel into Egypt, they passed the very pit into which the brothers had cast Yosef. And what happened? Yosef went over to it and stared and gazed into it. That's the end of the Midrash. Midrash is telling us that on the way back from the burial, Yosef said, hold on. Brothers say, why don't we go from the right? Let's take the I-95. So, no. Let's take the AIA, A1A. We're going to take this road. Why, Yosef? There's a place I need to see. They stop somewhere. I'm going to stop here. And what is it? That's the exact place they wanted to avoid, the place where they sold it, where they put him in the pit, the place that made transaction with the Arab merchants. And Yosef goes there and he looks into the pit and he's gazing and he's thinking and he's analyzing. And the brothers are watching what's going on. That's why the brothers said, he's out there to have us. He's going to take revenge at us. Why did he go through the pit? To remember, to relive the moment of agony that he went through. Okay, we said sorry already. That's it. We passed. Yosef did not forget this moment. He wanted to revisit the pit. That's why they were very, very afraid of that. The truth of the matter is, our rabbis ask, why really did Yosef want to go back and revisit the pit? It's true that there could have been a suspicion from the brothers to Yosef. But that was not the point. That was not the reason. That's not why he went. He did not go to remember. He did not go there to take revenge. As he tells them immediately, he says, you have nothing to worry about. I already told you that I forgive you. This is over. So why did he go back to the pit to revisit that site? Rabotai, there's a problem that happens to many people. Many people who have humble beginnings in life and then grow into life and become successful, become powerful, become influential. Those people, they could become Baalei Gava, very holy. There's only one way how to not become a holy person, a narcissist. And Yosef here is saying, now I have majesty, but then I had misery. Now I have honor, but then I had horror. Now I sit in splendor, but then I shuddered amidst serpents. Now I'm rich, then I was poor. I came a long way into the world. I must remember my origins. I would never forget the origins. I must never submit to delusions of grandeur. I must never let my good fortune go to my head. It is important, it is essential for a person to remember. There was once a rich man who was visited by a friend. Sorry. The rich man was an art collector. And the one who visited him, his friend, was a regular guy, middle-class person. He goes into the house of this rich guy. I don't know if it happened to you, but sometimes you see some paintings like wow, this is really nice. Some others you don't fully understand. And then you see a rag, a piece of something, a piece of cloth. And what happens? It happens to me. I don't say anything. I'm not going to say, oh, it's beautiful, because I don't think it is beautiful. But at the same time, I don't want to sound like an amaretz, an ignoramus who doesn't know what this is. Imagine I say, what is this? This piece of rag. The guy tells you, this is 2,000 years old. This was recovered from Mongolia. I paid $1 million for it. Ooh, I'm so sorry. So here in this case, this piece of rag, piece of cloth that was just in a frame, a beautiful frame, a gorgeous, expensive frame. And then all the other art pieces. And this person who was not educated in art asks the owner of the house, tell me something. What is this? It doesn't look like an expensive thing, but maybe I don't know. Maybe it's some Persian rug that is very expensive. I would like to read to you the answer he gives him. Quote, it is nothing but an ordinary rag. I had it framed so that I might look at it and remember that no matter how much I have now, I must always keep in mind that I began as a poor, hungry, barefoot lad whose few pennies were earned by being a menial rag picker. It helps me keep my sense of balance and proportion. It is a reminder that I don't own the world. It does not let me forget what it is to be hungry. And this is exactly why Yosef went to the pit. Yosef became this super powerful person. He studied in the pit. We must always remember where we come from. This is actually a mitzvah from the Torah. It's a positive commandment. You have to remember your humble beginnings. Why? The pasuk says, "Shene'emar v'zacharta ke'eved hayita be'eretz Mitzrayim." You must remember that you were once slaves in Egypt. In the mitzvah to remember Yetziat Mitzrayim, to remember coming out of Egypt, of course, is the portion, the part where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's grandeur took us out and all the miracles and all the details that we know. But it starts with knowing Avadim Ha'enu leFaro b'Mitzrayim, where once Avadim were slaves to Paro. If not, there would be no mitzvah to remember Yetziat Mitzrayim. Yetziat from where? From what the situation we're in, which means that the remembering starts from the low and to see how we became who we became. Yosef showed us, I want to remember. I never want to forget where I come from. Everything started the day I was sold in there. Borei Olam had plans for me, and look, I became extremely powerful and successful. But I cannot forget where I come from. I cannot forget the journey. And this is so important for so many of us. Many of us have had situations that they were not what they are today. And there's a journey. You could look back. You have a story to say. Humble beginnings and how a person made a fortune. It doesn't have to be only money. It could be on anything. But the person started in a humble way and became successful. There's a story to be told. And here comes the big problem. But what about our kids? Our kids are born into luxury already. We are living days that were never as fortunate for the Jews. Never were Jews so comfortable. Never were Jews able to afford what they're able to afford now. And whether it's good or bad, that's a different story, but that's the fact. Our kids are having living standards that are so high that they cannot go and revisit a pit. They cannot have a rag framed. They cannot say, oh, I know what it is to be not successful and to have made it in the success story, because they're born already into successful families. So what do they have to revisit? What do they have to look at? How could they look back? So first of all, I was going to say, well, it's simple. We have to share our stories. That's why it's so important to share stories and to read stories about the unfortunate stories of the Klal Israel and the difficulty that Israel was in, especially the biggest tragedy of people that had to leave their towns and their countries, be it in the Sephardic countries, having to emigrate into the United States or Latin America or Europe, or the European Jews who have been massacred by the Nazis. And thank God we still have many, not many, but few Holocaust survivors who could share their memories with us. Is that enough? Just to tell them the story? It's maybe too remote for them. They never, very soon they will not have had the chance to have met a survivor. What is next generation going to look like? Where's the pit that we revisit? The pit is gone. So what do we do? Yes, we do share stories, absolutely. But that's not enough. There's another midrash in Midrash Tanchuma, this week's parasha, that says the following. The same midrash as the Midrash Rabbah, but now Midrash Tanchuma adds a few details. I quote, when Yosef looked into the pit, he recited a blessing. What was the blessing? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Blessed is Hashem, the King of the universe. She'asa li nes b'makom hazeh, who performed for me a miracle in this place. This is the blessing that Yosef HaTzadik said when he was there. And I think maybe here we have a key. If we're going to attribute our success to our intelligence, to our ways of thinking, etc., to ourselves, then we have a big problem. Where is the revisitation of the pit? Our children, our grandchildren are not going to have this pit to revisit. We've been born into royalty. But there's only one way to revisit that pit, and that is by saying, my dear children and grandchildren, remember one thing. This is not me who did it. Exactly as Yosef did. He goes back to the pit and he says, I bless Hashem because it's not me who did it. It's all God who took me from there and made me into who I am today. We need to do that. Our children need to do that, and they could do that because there are still unfortunate people around. 100%. Not everyone is lucky. Not everyone has the same mazal. We need to be thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we need to voice it. We need to verbalize it. We need to be voicey about it. We need to be loud about it. We need to be clear about it to our families. It's not me who did it. It's God who took me from my unfortunate family into my fortunate family. And they could do it too. When they say beracha, thank you Hashem for giving me health, for giving me everything that I need. When we do that, what are we doing in a sense? We're revisiting a pit. We're just saying that I am in a pit as long as God doesn't lift me out of the pit. And that's what Yosef did. He wants to go back to there and to say, Hashem, it's all thanks to you. It's not me. We could do that. We should do that. We must do that. And when we do it, maybe our children are going to learn from their good lesson. So I'm thinking maybe the only thing that we could do is to revisit this spiritual pit in a sense, and to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thanks to you, I am now who I am. But that could be done at all levels, and we have to teach our kids this. And the more loud we are about this, the more they'll understand it. Because if not, where are they going to get the inspiration from? Where are they going to learn from? It's not their big zechut, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu who gave us this zechut. Where are they not going to become haughty and arrogant from? We could look back and say, look, I did that journey, but they have it so easy, it's difficult. They have to go deep into their emunah. And we are the trainers of that. We have to share that. This is the only way to make a beracha on the fortune that a person has. How fortunate we are for so many things. When you make a beracha, you're thankful to Hashem, you make a declaration, it's not my zechut, it's all your zechut. That we could teach it to our children. Shabbat shalom.